up, documentary dudes? Welcome to part 2 of the Arbdog reacts to the Totally Under Control documentary. Thanks for watching part 1, and thanks for joining me again on this journey. Let's hop right to it, but also please hit subscribe first. Alright, let's do it.
There's never been anything like this in history. There's never been, nobody's ever seen anything like this.
Nothing could be further from the truth. All one had to do was look clearly at the past.
President Obama felt it very important from the beginning and all the way through our dealing with H1N1 that the scientists make the call.
The way it should be.
H1N1 was very scary because children were particularly vulnerable.
Hi, it's Elmo.
First, you learn to sneeze into the bend of your arm like this.
Oh, very good.
Elmo's so cute.
13,000 Americans died from H1N1, and the Obama administration mishandled vaccine distribution. But scientists gave the administration high marks for moving quickly and being open with the press and the public. Just 4 years later, the Obama administration's response to the Ebola crisis would be criticized for being too slow.
Hindsight is always 20/20. I can look back at any outbreak I worked on and say, I made a series of mistakes there. We all do. But the key is, are they unforced errors?
I like this guy. He's smart. He's smart because he said hindsight is 20/20.
In 2016, Beth Cameron and her team at the NSC drafted a 69-page playbook on how to deal with a pandemic.
So what happened to this playbook?
So the playbook is reported to not have been used.
The Obama administration did not leave to this administration any kind of game plan for something like this.
I have no idea why Mitch McConnell said that he didn't know about the playbook. There were a large number of copies that were spiral bound of this playbook. It was briefed to the incoming administration. It did become politicized.
Some have erroneously suggested that the Trump administration threw out the pandemic response playbook left by the Obama-Biden administration. What the critics failed to note, however, is that this thin packet of paper was replaced by 2 detailed, robust pandemic response reports commissioned by the Trump administration.
Bro, does this girl even know what she's talking about? She's like reading word for word off a piece of paper. She's a hired actor, okay?
The last thing that they wanted was to pay attention to what the Obama people wanted them to pay attention to.
The Global Health Security Team was disbanded under a reorganization by Trump's National Security Advisor, John Bolton.
It was really shocking that any administration would get rid of so much experience and expertise.
Key positions went unfilled. Many more were eliminated. And when people were hired, experience was not nearly as important as loyalty. On January 29th, the White House announced the formation of an official task force to confront the threat of the coronavirus.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alex Azar.
Led by Azar, the task force had little scientific expertise. Most were businessmen and lawyers, seemingly chosen for their political or religious beliefs.
Perfect. That's exactly what you need to fight a virus.
The only 2 public health officials were Redfield and Dr. Anthony Fauci. At the National Institute of Health, Fauci had advised 6 presidents and had been at the forefront of every epidemic response.
Foreign nationals, other than immediate family of U.S. citizens and permanent residents who have traveled in China within the last 14 days, will be denied entry into the United States.
In the months after that, tens of thousands of people from China still make their way into the United States, mostly Americans who are returning home and are not blocked by that ruling.
The captain of the Diamond Princess had docked his vessel in Yokohama after learning a passenger had tested positive for COVID-19. The Japanese government ordered a 14-day quarantine. Eventually, over 700 passengers would test positive.
Oh, kind of forgot that happened.
At the time, we still didn't know a lot about the transmission dynamics or even the severity and lethality of the disease.
The Diamond Princess confirmed many of what I was nervous about. First of all, it shows how it spread in a confined environment with lots of people, right? Even though all of them has their own cubicle, But that's exactly like apartment complexes in New York City. And you go out, right? Go to places confined in a mall and in classrooms, in dormitories, in many settings.
Eva Lee began to sound the alarm in the Red Dawn emails about asymptomatic spread and the need to test widely. She knew in early February what federal officials refused to recognize.
We would have no chance to contain. If we are not going to take actions now, we would regret and we would be late.
The trifecta is test, trace, and isolate. My boss was like, you should cover the coronavirus. So my question's gonna be, where are we deviating from the playbook? So the CDC made a test that worked in their lab before the first case of COVID landed in the state of Washington on January 20. Having a declaration of an emergency allows you to cut it through a lot of red tape where you don't have to approve things the traditional pathway, which takes many, many years.
The first thing public health labs have to do after they get the test is they have to verify that the test works in their hands, in their laboratory, with their scientists. Labs opened up their boxes and they started to get the test up and running. And then the next morning, I see a number of emails from public health laboratory directors saying, we're seeing this problem with one of the components of the test, the N3.
There are 3 components to the CDC design test. They're called the N1, N2, and N3 assay. And the N1 and N2 assay together look specifically for the COVID-19 coronavirus. And then they had a 3rd component, the N3 assay, which was designed to look for any coronavirus. And I don't know why they decided to throw that 3rd part in. Now, this was really frustrating to a lot of lab directors because they were like, look, the N1 and N2 part of this test are working totally fine, so why don't we just ignore the part that isn't working?
Under an emergency use authorization, you're not supposed to do that. You have to run that test exactly as it's assigned.
As it turned out, over 90% of public health labs had tests that were not working.
So it was really as if we were flying blind, and we knew it. And frankly, there was nothing we could do except wait.
There was a working, effective test that was created in a German laboratory that was being distributed by the World Health Organization to countries all around the world.
Despite the technical problems at the CDC, the Trump administration could have insisted on an alternate plan. Public labs could have pivoted to the WHO test or removed the N3 element. Test manufacturers and clinical labs were eager to start making their own tests, but for reasons that remain unexplained, the FDA put the brakes on the approval process.
My name is Tyson Bell. I'm an infectious disease and critical care physician at the University of Virginia. I'm the director of the COVID ICU. Traditionally, there's a lot of leeway when it comes to federal regulations and hospital laboratories' ability to set up their in-house testing. But the thing about the emergency declaration was that it made the diagnostic innovation more difficult because now it had to go through the FDA. So now all of a sudden, any university laboratory that has the experience and the know-how to set up their own in-house testing now has to clear it in order to make this work. So we're trying to figure out, is it better to just deal with the FDA and the backlog there and set up our own in-house testing, or do we just wait for the CDC to fix the issues with the test? We decided initially to wait, and that was the wrong decision.
But Alex Greninger did not give up and instead began to slog through the FDA regulatory process. While testing in the US was stalled, in South Korea, the government was already moving to contain the virus by utilizing a comprehensive national testing and tracing program.
그리고 2월 중순 동안은 거의 환자가 없어서 외국에서 들어오는 환자 말고는 없어서 우리가 잘 대응했구나라고 방심을 하고 있었을 때 지금 알게 된 거지만 에어로졸이 생기는 그런 조건 중에 가장 큰 게 소리치고 노래하는 것들이라는 거를 이제 알게 됐고.
Okay, now I know why every single karaoke bar has been closed since March and never opened back up again.
If 2 people singing could spread the disease, Imagine thousands singing in one room. Major outbreak was traced to the Shincheonji Church, a doomsday Christian cult.
Thousands of additional people had been exposed. Because South Korea had already started ramping up diagnostic test production, they were able to seek out every member of this church in Daegu and get them tested. And because of the surge of cases in Daegu, South Korea started opening up these centers.
코 또는 목에 면봉이 들어갈 때 분명하게 환자는 재채기를 할 수가
I know the feeling. Happened a million times.
있고 그 재채기를 하는 순간에 그 방의 공기는 오염이 되거든요. 그때 생각할 수 있는 게 야외 밖으로 나와야 되겠다라고 생각을 했습니다.
Drive-through testing and special testing booths protected healthcare workers while dramatically increasing testing capacity. And manufacturers were able to keep up with the volume. South Korea also stepped up production of PPE to protect health workers and the public alike. Early adoption of testing would save South Korea. At the same moment in the United States, testing was still halted, and the nation was blind to where and how the virus was spreading.
Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. When you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, we're doing great. Other countries have not been doing great. Our consumer is very, very strong, very powerful economically.
By mid to late February, the sort of top experts, they decide we got to tell the president that we have to become more aggressive about warning the American public that this is where we're headed. The problem was the president just that next day left for another foreign trip to India. They wanted to brief the president, obviously, before you sort of made this sort of right turn on messaging.
We have it very much under control. Thank you very much, everybody.
So they decided we'll set up a briefing for the president the day he gets back. There was a bit of confusion, and it was Nancy Messonnier's understanding that the green light had been given for that new message to be delivered before briefing the president. So at her next conference call for reporters, she went to town.
Ultimately, we expect we will see community spread in this country.
I remember being shocked, thinking, does she realize what she just said?
I told my children that we as a family need to be preparing for significant disruption of our lives.
It was a turning point in this outbreak because the truth was finally broken through that shell of so many people standing there every day telling Americans, we have it under control.
Nancy Messonnier's comments tank the market, a 1,000-point drop in the Dow. The one gleaming, wonderful thing that was giving him and his advisors hope was the economy. It was the silver bullet. That was how he was going to win a second term. By the time Trump lands, the whole thing had spun out of control, and he was livid.
Whatever happens, we're totally prepared. We have the best people in the world.
Notably missing from the best people in the world was Dr. Nancy Messonnier.
I'm going to be announcing exactly right now that I'm going to be putting our Vice President, Mike Pence, in charge.
So you don't feel like you're being replaced? Not in the least. I was delighted that I get to have the Vice President helping in this way. Delighted. Absolutely.
I was delighted. Absolutely delighted.
While countries all over the world were testing thousands of cases, the United States was testing fewer than 100 a day. After almost a month of labs across the country being unable to test, the Trump administration finally made a decision it could have made weeks earlier.
On February 26th, the FDA and the CDC laid out the strategy. And that was that we would be able to get up and running by using the original test kit, but by throwing out the N3 component.
Oh my God.
That amended EUA was Wednesday, February 26th. And you can watch the testing curve in the United States. I mean, it really didn't start going up until that week.
Early on, our testing was limited to people who had traveled from China or they'd had contact with someone who was known tested positive for COVID-19. So written in our guidelines, by necessity, because we had a strain testing supply, it was designed to miss community transmission, meaning transmission that happens throughout the community that's not connected to travel, that we know at some point is going to happen. And it's like we're looking in this area and we know that transmission is going to happen over here and we're going to miss it because we can't test for it.
So what number of times this has happened?
Do you mind removing the mask? Is that okay?
Oh, no, not at all. I didn't know what your rules of engagement were here, so...
What you're definitely supposed to do is touch your face all over the place right after you take off your mask.
The real question is, did more people die? Did more dislocation and economic problems and societal change have to happen than did the lost month? And that really was the time when things happened in the United States much more slowly than they happened in, for example, South Korea. And it became impossible to do containment.
We have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear one day.
It's not going to just disappear, but he seems to believe it will, just like magic.
It's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Oh my god, did he just say it's like a miracle? Oh my god.
President's expressing confidence, this team, the public health infrastructure in this country, state and local, that we can deal with this. We will prepare for this. We will work together on this. He's trying to calm a public that we see in China. Panic can be as big of an enemy as virus in these situations. And so there is always that balance.
Mr. Secretary, I don't want to panic over this either. The stock market's crashing. He's outright contradicting everything that you all have just said. Outright contradiction.
I think he's expressing confidence in...
With no medical basis for it. That's what you've just explained to us. Come on, sir.
Bro, yeah, come on, sir.
The gentleman's time has expired. You're doing a great job for the president, Mr. Secretary.
Jeez, what?
And so far, we have lost nobody to coronavirus in the United States. Nobody.
The next day, that would change.
That's hilarious.
The Grand Princess cruise ship has been moored off the coast of California. 21 tested positive for the coronavirus.
On his way to a weekend trip at Mar-a-Lago, Trump made a stop at the CDC.
Wait, when did he make a hat that says Keep America Great? I mean, I guess it's like following suit. It's good. Good idea.
He discussed with a reporter the fact that one of the cruise ships was still offshore.
I'd rather have them stay on because I like the numbers being where they are.
Look at Redfield's face. Like, what the it's like he's never heard words being spoken before. He's just so in awe. He's just so in awe.
The government of the United States was intentionally slow walking testing.
In this big, vast land of ours, this great country of ours, we have 240 cases.
Dude, that man is an idiot, okay? He's the child. Oh my god, he's literally a child. He's a child. It's a child who heads the adults committee, okay?
By April, over 3,000 New Yorkers had died, surpassing the death toll of 9/11.
In March, we started to see the global supply chain really get jammed up. So it was extraction kits, swabs.
That's what I did, but better than that. Okay guys, thanks for watching. That concludes part 2 of Arbdog reacts to Totally Under Control. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please give me some more suggestions about other stuff that I can react to, because I would love to do it. I really enjoyed doing this. It just takes forever to edit, which is why we're here. But yeah, please do all those things, and see you next time.